Well, thank you for allowing me to be here with you today, and I hope and I pray that as we go through this presentation, we will have some knowledge of the truth behind the movie Mohammed. We know that the whole world today is in chaos. As a matter of fact, there are more new countries are getting involved in this as it is we see it in Australia, and I'm guessing sometime within the next few days we're going to have some problems here even in America as Muslims will continue to complain about this movie. The world is in chaos today because they believe that the American or some Jew plus Coptic Christian have insulted the Prophet of Islam, which I do not call him prophet. I believe Muhammad have got so much credit last week by being named the prophet, but he is not a prophet. He is a false prophet. And before we even get into this presentation, I'd like to share my heart with you. Muslims in the world have two skill to weigh things. Anything you say against their belief, their doctrine, their Quran, their Muhammad, their Allah, it is insulting. But they can insult everything about our belief, our doctrine, our Bible, our way of life, everything we got, and that's not insulting. Now, for the Muslims who are out there, who are upset about this movie, I believe they are upset for two reasons. The first reason is they are ignorant of their own Muhammad. They're ignorant of their own Islam. They're ignorant of their Quran. As we're going to see in this movie, literally everything in this movie is nothing but truth. And I'm going to show it to you, not from the movie, not by some books written by some Christian or Jew or some atheist or agnostic, but actually I'm going to show you this in their own books, the Quran. In their own books, which is the Quran, obviously the word of Allah, as they claim, given to Muhammad by angel Jibreel, or in their own teaching of Muhammad, the Hadith, as the interpretation of their Muslim scholars. So this is very important, we have to put aside. The second important reason I believe Muslims are angry because they will try to find any excuse. Let me say it again. Any excuse just to get mad and get even and get angry and burn some embassy, kill some Christian, kill some Jew, as they have been doing the last 1400 years since the days of Muhammad. Nothing is new. And a very important thing I would like to clarify here that the claim of Obama and those who are with him in the White House, that this is the real reason why all this chaos happening around the world, that's a lie. And the lie, you can even see it in the voices which is speaking very loud and clear in the people in the Middle East. They're not shouting, "We hate you Christian, we hate you Jew, you insulting our prophet." But they're saying, "Obama, Obama, we are all Osama." Or Obama, Obama, we love Osama. What Osama have to do with that? Obviously talking about Osama bin Laden, not me, the other Osama. It is a reaction to the 28th or 29th time the Democrat in their convention praising Obama for killing Osama. That's what I believe the real reason why we have this. But as I said earlier, any excuse Muslim will use to launch attack, to kill a Jew, to kill a Christian, to kill somebody who does not believe in Islam, according to the teaching of Allah in the Quran and the command of Muhammad in the Hadith. I'm not surprised of that because I lived it all my life. I have seen how Muslims do their dirty work. Before Bush, before Obama came to power, they've been doing this for years and years. 30 years ago. Exactly, 30 years ago, I was a child in Egypt, and I hear Muslim in Egypt shouting, "Death to America, death to Israel." And I did not know why. Why Muslim people are very mad and very angry against Obama, against America, and against Israel. I didn't even know who is America at the time. As a child, I think America is a bad guy. But I asked my dad and said, Daddy said, Americans are the Christians who live in the far land in the West. So why we hate them there? At the time, 30 some years ago. So is Israel. Obviously, the more I grew up, the more I learn about Islam, the more I learn about Israel, the more I learn about America, and I found out why Muslims hate us. It's not because somebody made a movie, because guess what? 30 years ago, there was not any person have the guts or the strength or the power to say a word against Muhammad or against Islam. We literally kept our mouths shut all these years. So, but even though we were quiet there, and still until today, Muslim, the same. They're yesterday, today, forever. They hate Christian, they hate Jew, as it is written in their own books. And they are practicing the command of their Prophet Muhammad and their God, Allah, which I believe is nothing but Satan, the great deceiver, the one who leads people astray, the one who desires to fill hell with people. That is the teaching of the Quran concerning their God. As you see on the screen here, the revealing the truth behind the Mohammed's movie. You see Mohammed in this picture, in very bloody. We're going to see the same picture again in the video, in the last slide. And he holds a sword, huge sword in his hand. And the sword also is covered with blood. And when Muslims see this picture alone, they will say, what? You insulted Muhammad. How dare you, American, Christian or Jew, to do such a thing? You insult the Prophet of Islam, to make him look like that. Why? Because they literally believe Muhammad, or they claim that Muhammad is a prophet of peace, a prophet of love. And here, that does not look like somebody peaceful, does it? Of course not. But I have a verse to read for our dear Muslim who complain about the picture of Muhammad. And this statement here was not written by some Christian or some Jew, somebody who hate Muhammad or hate Islam. It's actually his own word, Muhammad's own word. Listen to what Muhammad said. I descended by Allah with the sword in my hand, and my wealth will come from the shadow of my sword, and the one who will disagree with me will be humiliated and persecuted. That's the truth about Muhammad. That's his own word. Obviously, you're not going to read this statement on CNN or Fox or any TV in America, because that make Muhammad picture, which we see in this movie, true statement. What you see in the movie is a real story of who this man was. He got rich by killing Christian and Jew. And Allah sent him, his God, with the sword in his hand. Like it or not, that is a reality of who Muhammad is. So from now on, if Muslim upset about this movie concerning Muhammad holding a sword in his hand and have a bloody face and bloody clothes, hey, maybe those Muslim maybe need to quit Islam. Maybe need to find some other religion. And we would love to have them as Christian. We'll do everything to disciple them and teach them about the truth of the gospel of Jesus Christ. But they have no right to get mad and angry about what is written in their own books and what is said by their own prophet. Muhammad was not a prophet of peace and love, as Muslims claim. Or they can show us any proof or evidence of their claim. This is the first part of the video we're going to watch together here. It's Muhammad and his multiple wives.
For your knowledge, Doctor, our prophet had 61 wives, 11 at the same time. He even had a girlfriend.
I know, I have heard about it.
If my sick wife died today, I would sell the medicine, eat the food, and marry a young girl tomorrow. I will marry her tomorrow.
All? Congratulations, Constable. Be sure to invite me to the wedding.
Oh, shut up, Rustam.
They told me that they made this movie and it cost $5 million. I say, I will not spend $500 on it. It's a very poor quality. The sound is bad, the cameras are bad, the scenario is bad, the acting is bad. Somebody made it in their own garage or some living room with green screen, of course. It's a joke. But you know what? Everything has been said in this movie, as we're going to see in this next few minutes we have here, is true. Muhammad have multiple wives. As a matter of fact, 60 is the number I always have heard. I know when you read Muslim scholar books, you're going to come up with different numbers because Muslims disagree. Scholars in Islam disagree. The most famous statement, as you read the interpretation by Muslim scholar throughout the Quran, is they always begin the interpretation by the statement, اختلف العلماء, اختلف المفسرون. Scholars disagree. The interpreter disagree. And they always end their interpretation by the statement, Wallahu a'lam, and Allah knows best. That is concerning the interpretation of the verses of Allah in the Quran. So how in the world do you expect the Muslim to agree on the number of the wives of Muhammad? Of course, they're not going to disagree on it. They're going to have disobedience. As a matter of fact, Allah himself in the Quran does not know so many numbers. You go to Quran chapter 18, for example, and it tells a story, which is a fairy tale story, was written years before Muhammad, and Muhammad copied and put it in the Quran, assuming it's a true story, about 3, maybe 4, maybe 5. Allah said maybe 6 or maybe 7. And no one knows how many. These are the young men who slept inside the cave for 309 years. They were Christian, running away from persecution, slept in this cave all these years, and the end, coming out of the cave, when they wake up, and they live a little bit more, and then they die. But the story is a fairy tale. But what's amazing is Allah himself does not know how many young men were inside this cave for all these years. So, disagreement in numbers among Muslims, it's a very norm. It's the norm of the writing of any of the material in Islam. But we read if you go to this website, you see that we know for sure, for certain, at least 30 wives of the wives of Muhammad. We know them by their names. We're not assuming them. I can tell you, first one, her name is Khadija. The second one, her name is Sauda bint Zim'a. The third one, her name is Aisha and Safiya and Marwa, and whatever names, we know them by name. Now, we know also a bunch of other wives, and we do not know their names. We know obviously all as you read in the Quran, chapter 4 verse 24, and chapter 33, verses 50, 51, that Muhammad have what we call, what your right hand possesses. وَمَا مَلَكَتْ أَيْمَانَكُمْ. That is slave and concubines. We do not know how many, but plenty of them Muhammad have. Obviously also we know from the Islamic sources that Muhammad have married other women whom he did not have sex with. He just married them on paper, and he was busy with the other wives maybe, and he never have time to, have some good time with these wives whom he married on paper. Plenty of wives. 30, 40, 50, 60, but it's true. Muhammad break the teaching of his own God when Allah in the Quran said what? 4 wives. Muhammad have 13 wives at one time. Why? Because he have special deals with Allah. And as we're going to see, and we read a little bit later from the Quran. Let me give you, for example, here in Quran chapter 4, verse 24. Allah said, and married women are also forbidden. Muslim men cannot have sex with a married woman. But listen to this piece here. Except all that your right hand possesses. All Muslim who own slaves, they have the right to sleep with their slaves, even if their slaves are married, as a very norm in Islam. Muhammad, as one of the Muslim believers, also had many slaves. Many of the slaves were married, and he has the right to sleep with them. And Muhammad have a little bit, actually more than that. As you go in Quran chapter 33 later, you see that Muhammad can sleep with any married woman, slave or not. Allah gave him permission, as we're going to read a little bit later. So, multiple wives in Muhammad's life is true. Muslims should not be angry about it. They should not be upset with it. If they don't like it because it's not a very honorable thing, maybe, as I said earlier, they need to rethink their belief in this cult of Islam. Now we move to another piece of the video. Muslim attacks Christians and police apathy.
Marina! Justina! Marina!
Daddy, what's going on?
There is an angry mob in the street. Tell your mother to release all the patients and close the clinic. We must go home now.
Hey, Daddy.
So what do we see here? Muslim attacking some Christian homes or Christian businesses, and the police arrive to the scene. And what the police do? Standing still, do nothing. As a matter of fact, the order came, the big cop to the small cops to wait until the job is finished. Maybe for us here in America, we're shocked to hear that. We're shocked to see that. But that is the reality of Muslim officers, Muslim policemen in Egypt, and how they do their work every day concerning Christians who live in Egypt or any other country in the Middle East.
So they wait until...
Yes, until the job is finished, until the church is burned, until the house is destroyed, until the business is stolen. And that's when later the police get involved. Just watch this next piece here.
Freeze! Do not take any action until everything is over. Await my further instructions.
Set the place on fire. We will burn out these forsaken Christians.
Watch this Christian lady. And here is another policeman standing doing nothing. That is a reality. I lived this in my life in Egypt. I've seen it so many times. And I love the coordination between the fire department and the police station and the whatever involved to protect the Christian church. They all coordinate their work together to the point that the fire trucks will not go to the scene until 2 hours later. They said, you need to come here in 1 hour and 120 minutes. 2 hours from now, you can start driving your truck. That makes sure we got enough fire going on to burn the businesses and destroy the businesses. It's very normal in Egypt to see such activity. And I believe this happened in Egypt, this happened in every other Muslim country where Muslims are majority. And that they will come. You're going to see this happening in Europe, and you're going to see this happen even here in America. For that is the way of life in Islam. They are practicing the teaching of their apostle, and they're practicing the command of their God as it's written throughout the Quran. I wish American people read the Quran, understand Islam, because this will save America. As long as we continue to be ignorant of Islam, the bigger chance for Muslims to take over America. But if we get to learn Islam by reading their books, not just watching a movie like that, but reading the books, get to the knowledge, then you can save your country for your children and for your grandchildren.
Many people have serious questions about the religion of Islam. Who are Muslims and what do they believe? Liberal Muslim scholars and clerics spin the news and continually promote Islam as the religion of peace, and that Jews, Christians, and Muslims worship the same God. But is this true? Where can we turn for the answers? To truly know what a faith teaches, you have to go to the book. And for the last 1400 years, that book for Muslims is the Quran. This collection of the sayings and teachings that Mohammed claimed to have received from Allah is the sacred text for over 1 billion Muslims worldwide. But the Quran was written in Arabic, so how can we in the West learn what it really says? Muslim apologists have produced several English translations over the years, but these have been carefully edited to hide many of the blatant errors, immoral teachings, and violent commands throughout the book.
In the beginning of our ministry, we decided to tell the truth about Islam. Therefore, we decided to buy the English translation of the Quran to use the verses which is written there. Sadly, I could not find one Quran to present the truth as it is written in the Arabic language. They sugarcoat it. They water it down. That's why we decided to go ahead and translate the Quran from Arabic to English, a true English translation.
The Straight Way of Grace Ministry, in cooperation with Arab and English scholars from around the world, has produced the most accurate English translation of Islam's holy book ever printed. Read for yourself exactly what Mohammed taught his followers about war and violence, about sex and marriage, about the treatment of infidels, and more importantly, what he said about Jesus.
Islam is not what I share with you or what some moderate Muslim tell you. Islam is the verses of the Quran. We must separate Muslim from Islam. There are so many wonderful Muslim people out there, but they are not true Muslim because simply they don't practice what the Quran teaches. So many American people say they accept Islam. They do not have any problem for Muslim to practice Islam in America, but same people rejecting Sharia, Islamic law, not knowing that Sharia, Islamic law, is a practice of the verse of the Quran.
This translation has been produced with the modern student in mind, with several key features including study notes for the reader, detailed notes concerning errors and contradictions in the text, careful comparisons between the Quran and biblical accounts, and references to the original sources that Muhammad borrowed from. Special sections discuss key topics such as a compilation of non-Arabic words and idioms found in the Quran, an easy-to-follow chart outlining the fulfilled prophecies concerning Jesus in the Old Testament, and a challenging gospel invitation to introduce the reader to the scientific, historical, and biblical reasons for accepting the true Jesus as the only Lord and Savior.
In the book of Hosea, chapter 4, verse 6, the Bible said, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge." It is time for us to read the Quran. It's time for us to find the truth for ourselves.
For ordering and more information, please visit thestraightway.org. Read the Quran for yourself and understand the roots of this dangerous faith. Individual copy and case pricing are available.
Now I'm going to move to another video. And this one is by the title, "Arresting and Forcing Christians to Confess Crimes They Did Not Commit."
The Islamic Egyptian police arrested 1,400 Christians.
Tortured them and forced them to confess to the killings.
Why do they do that?
To protect.
Islamic crimes.
The Egyptian police committed fraud upon the Christians. They could save thousands of lives and billions of dollars of taxpayers' money.
Of course, as maybe you know by now, I did not write this film. I have no idea what the scenario. I'm guessing as much as you can guess. This is like a Christian home. Obviously, from the picture of Jesus inside the house. A man, I'm guessing his wife, his daughter, and they're talking about what is happening in Egypt. They arrest Christian, and they force them to confess to crimes they did not commit. Can you imagine this could happen in Egypt? Yes, indeed. This happened in Egypt, and this will happen in any Muslim country where Muslims are majority. And I know this because I've seen this many times in my life. Because now we found a good excuse why Muslims did what they did. So what they do is they go to a city, they burn a couple, 3 churches, they destroy 3, 4 Christian businesses, they kill 10, 20 people, and then they arrest Christian, and they make the Christian confess that they insulted Muhammad, they insulted the Quran, they insulted Allah, they maybe burn or tried to burn a mosque, and now we find out why the Muslim did what they did, because to retaliate, to revenge of what the Christian committed. But the Christian did not do anything. But if you look on the paper, they confess it, they did it. Do you know that in Egypt, a policeman can arrest a man and his wife and his children and take them to the police station, and he can rape them in public, in open, in his office? They will rape the wives and daughters. Say, okay, we'll rape them again. You better sign the paper. Yes, I will sign the paper. I did burn a mosque, or I did insult Muhammad, or I did something. That's how they do it in Egypt. And that's how they will do it, even in your own country here in America. Just gives them the time, and they will accomplish that. So it's a very normal thing in my country, Egypt, or in any Muslim country, is that they accuse Christian of committing a crime, and they force him through rape, through killing, through whatever means they want to make Christian confess to crime they did not commit. Now we move to another piece of this thriller movie, Mohammed. This one is by the title, What is X?
Man plus X
Equals Islamic terrorist. Islamic terrorist.
minus X equals man.
But what is X?
You need to discover it for yourself.
Man plus X equal terrorist. Terrorist minus X equal men. I do not know what he meant by X. My guess is 100% true. X is Islam. Because what is terrorist? These are the Muslims who believe in the teaching of the Quran, who believe in the command of Muhammad in the Hadith. So man, a normal person who's working hard to protect his family, to provide for his family, when he studies the Quran, and he starts practicing the teaching of Allah in the Quran, when he studies the Hadith, Muhammad saying, and practice the teaching of Muhammad saying, he or she will become a terrorist. And that is the reality of Muslims. They are people, nice people, wonderful people, who practice the teaching of their Allah and the command of their Muhammad. X is Islam. I believe Hillary Clinton needs to learn X. I believe Barack Hussein Obama, if he's telling us he's a Muslim, I believe 100% he's a Muslim, but if he does not know what is X, he may need to read the Quran. In few days, any person in the West will read the Quran and a little bit of the Muhammad teaching in the Hadith, he or she will figure out that Islam is the religion of tyranny, as it is written in the pages of the Quran and Muhammad commands in the Hadith. Take Islam out of terrorists, you will end with wonderful, wonderful people. Another piece of this movie is by the title, The 4-Year Pregnancy.
A 2-year-old son of a father who's been dead for 6 years? This is preposterous. This is a scandal.
Father, calm down.
How can I calm down? My son cannot possibly have a child of 2 years.
Who is this man? This is supposed to be Muhammad, grandpa. And here he is complaining about that his son Abdullah is the father of Muhammad. He said, It's impossible for my son Abdullah to be the father of Muhammad. Why is that? Because his son Abdullah died 4 years before Muhammad was born. And here is the rest of the movie.
We were married on the same day. My son Hamza is 6 years old now. What is this madness?
Father, we are not stupid. I know, I understand, Father, but we must conceal this disgrace. You must raise him, take him. Raise him as one of your slaves if you must.
What shall I call him? To whom should I attribute him?
His name is Mohammed. And we could call him the Father Unknown.
I think you're right, my son.
By the way, name Muhammad is not the real name for Muhammad. For when Muhammad was born, and he was named Qasim. Muhammad is a name is given to Muhammad later by himself, which should not be a name for human. Because the word Muhammad, or the word Ahmed, or the word Mahmud, it means praised one, the praised one, the one to be praised. And this should be only given to our Lord and our Savior, Jesus Christ. As you read in the Psalms, I praise you, Ahmaduka. No human whatsoever could get this name to be praised. There is the real name of Muhammad is Qasim. But here is the true story behind this 4 years of pregnancy. Because maybe for Muslims who do not know the true story about Muhammad 4 years pregnancy, or maybe are not familiar with the teaching of the Quran about the length of pregnancy, we have a problem. But here is what is written in their own books.
Muhammad was born around 570 AD in Mecca, Saudi Arabia. His father was Abd Allah, which means the servant of Allah. His mother was Amna Bint, daughter of Wahb. Both parents were non-Christian, non-Jews, and probably idol worshippers, as were most of the people around Mecca. Muhammad, in the Hadith, wept before his mother's tomb, asking Allah to forgive his mother, but Allah refused to do so. We know from the Hadith that Muhammad had siblings because Muhammad said that his mother said, "When I was pregnant with him, Muhammad, I had never such a light pregnancy as in his case. And I saw in my sleep, when I was pregnant with him, that light came out of me."
That's a wonderful story. But it's a sad story too. Because everybody would like to make his a mother of a prophet or the mother of an important person. And here we see from his own word, Muhammad, his mama was a sinful woman, a wicked woman, and as a matter of fact, she burned in hell and she will continue to burn in hell forever. Because he cried to Allah to forgive her and Allah refused to forgive her. But we know that she saw light come out of her when she birthed her son. If this is true, why she did not believe in Muhammad or believe in whatever the message he's going to come up with? I mean, can you imagine if a mama have a baby and she see light come out of her? This could lead her to something, to believe in something. Obviously, it's a made-up story by Muhammad, and I don't believe in any truth in it. But let's continue with this 4 years pregnancy.
We have no knowledge of these siblings. We know that they were from different fathers. Moreover, Muhammad's birth in the year 570 was 4 years after his named father, Abd Allah, died. Some might say, how can a child be born 4 years after his father's death? The answer is simple. Abd Allah was called his father, but he was not. Who then was Muhammad's father? From the Muslim sources, we found that Abd Allah, Muhammad's father, married Amna, and Muhammad's grandfather married Hala on the same day.
When we talk about Islamic sources, we're talking about Al-Sayyuti, which is the same reference we have in the previous slide. So that is Muslim books. That's not a book written by some Christian or some Jew or somebody who hate Muslims. We'll continue with the story.
Muhammad's mother, Amna, became pregnant immediately after the marriage, and then Muhammad's father died while she was pregnant. Abd al-Muttalib, Muhammad's grandfather, had a son from his wife, Hala, who was named Hamza. Hamza was 4 years older than Muhammad, even though Muhammad's father died after living only a few months with Muhammad's mother. Therefore, his son, Muhammad, could not actually be his son, unless Mohammed was inside his mother's womb for 4 years. One might ask this question: how did we know that Hamza, Mohammed's uncle, was 4 years older than Mohammed?
We're going to get the answer for this question in the next slide, but let me repeat what we have said here. Muhammad's father and Muhammad's grandfather married two ladies in the same night. Muhammad's father, Abdullah, died few months after marriage. Muhammad's grandfather had a son by the name Hamza. Hamza was 4 years older than Muhammad. It's easy to say they're both in the same age, or it's easy to say that Hamza was younger than Muhammad. But to tell me that Hamza is 4 years older than Muhammad, that's a problem. Because every month Hamza is older, that means Muhammad was inside his mama's womb for 1 more month. And if Hamza is 4 years older, that means Muhammad was inside his mother's womb for at least the same length of 4 years. Here is the answer to prove that truly Hamza was 4 years older than Muhammad.
The answer can be determined by knowing the age of the death of both Muhammad and his uncle Hamza. Muslim scholars say that Muhammad died 8 years after his uncle Hamza at the age of 63. If they were born at the same time, Hamza would have died at age 55. However, scholars also record that Hamza died in the 3rd year of the emigration at the age of 59. 59 plus 8 equals 67. Muhammad's age at his death was 63, which is 4 years younger. This proves that Hamza was born 4 years prior to the birth of Muhammad. Who then was Muhammad's father? Since it is impossible, except in Islamic science, for a woman to be pregnant for over 4 years, we must conclude that only Allah knows best, for no one knows for sure who Muhammad's father was.
Is this clear? Anybody need more clarification in it? You got it? All right, we'll move on. Next part is, maybe you think, wait a minute, this was in Muhammad days. Muslims don't believe in that because this could be some misunderstanding or miscalculation. The number did not fit right. Now here is the word of Allah in the Quran, and its interpretation by Muslim scholar supports the idea that truly Muhammad was inside his mama's belly for 4 more years. Listen to the verse of the Quran and its interpretation by Muslim scholars.
In an apparent effort to explain Muhammad's birth being so long after his father's death, Muslim scholars Ibn Kathir and al-Qurtubi agree that a pregnancy could be as short as 6 months and dispute over the maximum length between 2 or 5 years. This is in their interpretations to Quran chapter 13 verse 8. Allah knows what every female bears and how much their womb lessens and enlarges, and with him everything is by measure.
The verse is talking about the time of the womb being pregnant. Allah knows how less it could be or how large this time could be. The interpretation is it could be as less as 6 months, which is a joke because now we can have babies 3 or 4 months and they live healthy, strong, wonderfully with the high technology we have today with medical advances. Now, they said the longest could go up to 5 years. A mother can be pregnant for 5 years. Now, if Muslims are complaining about the idea that the movie said that Muhammad mama was pregnant for 4 years, they need to remove this verse from the Quran. They need to remove the interpretation of it by the Muslim scholar, and they need to give us an explanation. How can Hamza, Muhammad's uncle, 4 years older than Muhammad, if Muhammad daddy died just shortly after he married his mama Amna? That's a problem. And you may think, well, this is all old stuff. The Quran was written 1400 years ago, and maybe these Muslim scholars misunderstand the interpretation. They make a mistake. What if I show you what's happening in Egypt today? How do Muslim people in Egypt live in the year 2010? This case here, I believe, 2 years ago. Listen how Egyptians react to the same problem even in our modern days.
Recently, in a video shown on YouTube on the gestation time of pregnancy, a question was asked of the Mufti of Egypt. A man went to Saudi Arabia for 3 years and did not have any sexual relations with his wife during his absence. Upon his return, she gave birth to a child, and when he asked her whose child this was, she said, "It is your son." Will he believe her? The Mufti responded, "According to Islamic law, absolutely."
I mean, 3 years, it's a long time. A man was away from his wife for 3 years. And the Mufti of Egypt, the Mufti in Egypt, if you don't know what it is like the Pope for the Catholic Church. His word is true and people believe it. And if he issue a fatwa, a decree, it's over, it's done. He obviously knows that's not his son. You can't have a wife cannot be pregnant for 3 years. But the Mufti of Egypt said, it is absolutely true. Therefore, don't argue with the Mufti, believe it. That's how much knowledge Muslims have in their head. They are literally living in the days of Muhammad, back 1400 years in the days of Muhammad, where they're riding camels. And they believe anything you can imagine. They believe drinking camel urine is a healer for many sickness, and they believe a mama can be pregnant up to 5 years. Now, we'll move on with the next piece of the video to see what makes Muslim angry, what makes Muslim upset about the movie Muhammad. For here we see Muhammad, the employee.
Mohammed, your lady summons you.
My lady? My lady? Oh, don't finish it. Oh. I'm watching you. Don't finish it. Gluttonous. I know you are gluttonous.
Okay, you the unknown father.
What did you say?
Okay, the unknown father.
Bilal, take me to my lady.
Come in, Mohammed. I command you. Sit. You are not wearing undergarments. Cover yourself.
Sorry.
Of course, this part of the stupidity of this movie, there's no reason for having that. I mean, how do we know Muhammad wear his garment or not? There's nothing written in any book. It's exaggerating from those who made the movie. It is foolish to get to this extreme stupidity. I disagree with this very, very much. As a matter of fact, I believe from the writing that Khadija, his first lady, whom he worked for her, she was his boss. She was a rich widow or rich woman who have 1, 3 husbands. We don't know how many husbands she had before Muhammad. She was a rich. She had many men work for her. Muhammad worked for her. And that, by the way, itself tells us that what Muslims teach in the West concerning woman position before and after Islam is to be nothing but a lie. For Muslim in America or in the West, who will tell you, oh, before Islam, women were not even living. I don't know how in the world men were born without a mama, if they kill every female. But also said, now in Islam, women can work. Now in Islam, women equal to men. Now in Islam, and that's, of course, a bunch of lies we cover in our DVD, Women in Islam. But in Muhammad days, before he claimed to be a prophet, women was working. As a matter of fact, women were bosses and they have men work for them. And the proof is his own life, Muhammad and his boss, Khadija. We know from the writing of Muslims that she liked him. She actually called him the faithful because he did not steal her. And I may assure you, Muhammad, before he became a prophet or before he claimed to be a prophet, he was perhaps a faithful man. After he became a prophet, he became a thief. And you don't believe me? Read the Quran. See, he was good before Allah called him to whatever he called him. But after he became a prophet, now we know he's a killer and a murderer and an adulterer and everything else, as we're going to see in this movie in the next pieces here. Muhammad worked for his wife, and women have a high position in the community where Muhammad lived before he ever claimed to be a prophet. Muslim obviously may be upset about the exaggeration in this portion, and I am myself upset about what they put in this movie. There's no point of it. There's enough trash in Islam that I don't have to add anything to it. There's enough mistakes all over the Quran, I don't have to add to it. Just read the Quran. You know, some people said, well, the greatest thing that makes a Muslim angry is to burn the Quran. That's why Brother Terry Jones is burning the Quran. That is foolishness. And I told Brother Terry many times, do not burn the Quran. The great insult to Islam is not burning the Quran, it's actually reading the Quran. If you read the Quran, you find out what's in it. And that's when you destroy it from within. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to add to what Muhammad is. Did he have underwear or he did not have underwear? We have, I'm going to share with you a little bit here, worse than that. Why we have to add this ridiculous things to the movie, I don't know. So obviously that's a mistake. Whoever made this movie should apologize about this specific piece here. Now, let's move on with the next piece here. And in this one we see Khadija's test and the proof of Muhammad's prophecies. Khadija is Muhammad's wife, and she performs this test with Muhammad, and the Muslims still use this test today. It is in their site, Saudi Arabia website. I just downloaded this 3 days ago or 4 days ago, and that's what I'm teaching you today. Yes, there was a test performed by Muhammad's first wife Khadija, and throughout this test, now Muslim knows that Muhammad is a true prophet. Watch the video.
Do you see him? Put your head between my thighs. Do you see this devil still?
Yes.
Now do you see him?
He's gone. Khadija, he's gone. How have you done this?
What is the test? Of course, we cover a portion of the movie because it's not very nice nudity there. But the test is very simple. As it is written in Muslim books, we're not making this up. Muhammad used to go to a cave to meditate. And one time he was inside this cave and he saw a spirit. He ran all the way home because he was afraid of the spirit. And it's amazing, when you read the description of this spirit and what took place, you found out that this spirit was hugging Muhammad, get all the air out of his chest, squeeze him so hard, and he told Muhammad, read. Not breathe, just read. It's like reading a book, read. And Muhammad say, Ma ana biqari. I cannot read. And Muhammad could not breathe. And then he let him free. And then Muhammad started breathing. And then the same spirit squeezed the air life out of Muhammad again and say, read. Read what? I don't know. And Muhammad said, I cannot read. And then he did one more time, read. And then Muhammad receives the first chapter in the Quran. اقرأ باسم ربك. Read in the name of your Lord. The word read here in Arabic could also mean recite, which is speak out the verses of the Quran. Read it out loud. That is reading. And that is the first chapter was given to Muhammad in the Quran. Now, Muhammad ran all the way home after he saw this spirit, whatever he saw, and he told his wife, and they cover him because he said, Zammiluni means cover me. He was shaking, he was sweating, it was a cold night, but he was run of fear. And then his wife Khadija said to him, Muhammad, when you see the spirit again, would you please let me see him? I want to test him for you to make sure if it's a godly spirit or demonic spirit. He said, sure. So here we go, we come to this part of the movie. They were both in their homes. And he said, Khadija, here he is, the spirit, point to the spirit. Okay, Muhammad, come. And she literally sat down on a chair or on the floor, wherever you see in the movie. 65 years old woman, and her husband, 40 years old man, sat on her right side. Do you see him, Muhammad? He looked, he said, yep, he's there. Okay, sit down in my left side. And he said there, look, do you see him? He looked, yes, it's still there. Okay, sit down between my legs. Do you still see him? Yes, it's still there. She uncovered her hair, as you see in the movie, and she asked Muhammad one more time, do you still see the spirit? He said, no, the spirit left the room. And that's when she rejoiced. And she said, Abshir ya ibn al-am. Good news, my cousin. This was angel spirit. That was a godly spirit. It was not a demonic spirit. Why? Because in her belief, if this was a demonic spirit and she uncovered her hair or showed some nudity in her body, the spirit, the demonic spirit, do not mind to look at the naked woman. But if it's a godly spirit and she uncovered her hair, the spirit will leave the room. And that's exactly what happened. That's how she knew that Muhammad was meeting with a spiritual, good spiritual angel, not a demonic spirit. So this part of the movie is true. It is in their own books. It is in their own belief. Muslims who rejected this part of the movie maybe need to rethink their belief of Islam. Maybe they need to rethink their belief in the Quran. What is the point? You believe in something is not true. You have no right to get mad, to burn an embassy, or to kill an American, or to kill a Christian, or to kill a Jew for telling you what is written in your own book. If you don't believe it, you're welcome to leave it. And we would love to have you in our Christian faith if you want to learn the truth about Christ. The source obviously is Khadija, that's Muhammad's wife, and Isnad Hasan mean it's good truth in it. Hukm al-Muhaddis Isnad Hasan mean it's true. Muslims believe in that. For those who speak Arabic, they can read this online or can find all the truth in it. Yes, he sat on her left side, he sat on right side, turn around, and he said, good news, it's not Satan, it's an angel. That we did not make this up, but that is the truth of what is written there. Now, let's move to another piece of the movie Muhammad. And this one we'll be talking about Waraka ibn Nufal and Ya'fur, Muhammad donkeys.
And this shall be the first Muslim animal.
What is your name? Ya'fur. His name is Ya'fur. Ya'fur, do you like the women? No. Ya'fur does not like the women. Ya'fur!
Please, my cousin, you must help us.
I will help you, Khadija. I will make a book for him. It will be a mix between some versions from the Torah and some versions from the New Testament, and mix them into false verses.
Who is this man dressed like a monk or a Christian? His name is Waraka ibn Nufal, who also was the cousin of Khadija, Muhammad's wife. When she knew after she did her test that Muhammad is meeting with angels, she met with Waraka ibn Nufal. She actually took Muhammad with her to Waraka ibn Nufal and she told him about this. And Waraka ibn Nufal heard, read. And this first verse of the Quran, it's, oh, Waraka ibn Nufal says, surely this is the word of Allah. You are the prophet we're waiting for, really. From this chapter, Waraka ibn Nufal knows that he was a prophet. And then obviously, a little bit here in the movie, I'm not sure if this took place or not, but we know for sure that Waraka ibn Nufal have a great role of Muhammad because Waraka ibn Nufal have access to the Bible, to the stories of the Old Testament, and to the stories of the New Testament. And as you read the Quran, you see all the story is written there and repeated over again. Many error, many mistakes. We cover this in our new book, The Revelation of Error. It's going to be published sometime before Christmas. The Revelation of Error. Many errors throughout the book, and that is what Waraka ibn Nufal helped Muhammad to do. How about Ya'fur the donkey? Yes, indeed, Ya'fur the donkey is not made up. It is also in their own books. As a matter of fact, the name of the donkey was Yazid ibn Shahab. Yazid ibn Shahab, that's the real name. When Muhammad asked his donkey, what is your name? He said, my name is Yazid ibn Shahab. And the donkey told Muhammad there was 60 donkey in his family, 60 generation. Each one of these donkey has been ridden by a prophet. Abraham ride on a donkey, Moses ride on a donkey, and he said, I am the last donkey, and I knew that you will be riding on me because you are the last prophet. Well, some will say, that's a weak hadith. We're not sure about this is really happening or not. Take it out of your books. As long as this hadith is in their books, I'm going to use it. And as you read the Quran, you will see that Allah in the Quran is telling us that all creatures, ants, spider, donkeys, cow, camels, perhaps dogs, all creatures, all birds are also like human. They have believers and unbelievers. They also have prophets. They believe in the prophets and they do not believe in prophets. So Ya'fur to be a donkey and believe in Muhammad, it fit with the teaching of the Quran. Even if we take these books out, or what is written in these books out concerning this donkey Ya'fur. Here's another source. You can go online and read about. Here, he said, قَدْ سَمَّيْتُكَ يَعْفُورَ, I have named you Ya'fur. And then he asked him, أَتَشْتَهِي النَّاسِ? Do you lust after females? He said no. And Muhammad was surprised that his donkey Ya'fur does not have lust after females. Because Muhammad himself obviously have many stories with females, as we're going to see in the rest of the movie. That is the reality of Muhammad. That is the reality of Islam concerning the donkey Ya'fur and concerning Waraq ibn Nawfal. Waraq ibn Nawfal helped Muhammad to make up the stories of the Quran, which come out of the Bible. Ya'fur is a true character in Muhammad's life. Muslims don't like it, Muslims don't believe it, that's fine, leave it. But don't kill me for telling you what is written in your own books. It makes nonsense, isn't it? Let's continue. Another piece of the video, Muhammad. Now here, a good question is the relationship between Waraq ibn Nawfal, this priest we saw in the previous video, and the prophecies. If the prophecy, as Muslims claim, come from Allah through Angel Jibreel to Muhammad, what Waraq ibn Nawfal have to do with that? Watch the video.
And the inspiration has disappeared.
Waraq is dead. And the inspiration has disappeared.
Don't understand. What is the relationship between Waraq's death and the inspiration?
Now, I must return to the mountain. Find a solution or kill myself. I've been to the top of the mountain to jump and kill myself twice before. Now, I will. I will kill myself. Now I will kill myself.
Waraq ibn Nawfal died and the inspiration stopped. Wait a minute, I did not know that Waraq ibn Nawfal was Angel Jibreel. No. Waraq ibn Nawfal is really the source of the inspiration of Muhammad. He knows about the stories of the Bible. And this is a good question from this Muslim guy here. What is the relationship between this and that? You know, when Muhammad's wife Khadija died, he did not try to commit suicide. When his son or his daughter, the children, family, relative died, he never tried to commit suicide. When the closest friend he knows who went and fought the battle with him and died, he never tried to commit suicide. But when Waraq ibn Nawfal died, he tried to commit suicide. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. When Muhammad go up to the top of the mountain and he's about to throw himself off the mountain to commit suicide, to kill himself, and the angel Jibreel cry out, "Oh Prophet of Allah Muhammad, do not kill yourself. You are truly the Prophet of Allah." Where do we come up with this information? I made it up? No. Actually, people think that the movie is made up. No, here it is. ثم لم ينشب ورقة أن توفى وفاطر الوحي. And it's just happened that Waraq ibn Nawfal, that's the name of the monk, died, and the prophecy stopped. And the suicide of Muhammad, the 3-time suicide, all Muslims know it. This story here, all Muslims know it. It is very known to all Muslims. Why is they angry today? Because we're telling them in the books. Remember what I told you earlier? It doesn't matter. The Muslim will find some excuse to get mad, to get angry, to burn an embassy, to kill some Christian, to kill some Jew, to start a fight. None of this information is new. And by the way, I have covered more than this movie in depth many times throughout the TV, which they see in Egypt and they see all over the Middle East, and nobody get mad at me before. Nobody tried to burn a library or burn an embassy or burn any place of education where these books exist and where we have shown it to them many times in the past. Why today? Maybe because we have a weak president. Why today? Because we are bowing down to them. Why today? Because we give them more money. Why today? Because they're about to take over the world. It's nothing to do with the movie. The movie is just a good excuse. And I dare any Muslim to debate me on this 14-minute trailer. And I will show them, as I'm showing you, it is their books. They have no right to be upset. They have no right to be mad or angry. What we have here, the nature of the invasion. Muhammad performed many invasions. As a matter of fact, the last 13 years of his life, he was invading one village after another. And look at the nature of this invasion as we have seen it in this movie.
Killing the men, capturing the women. We shall loot the goods, the camels, any animals, and anything else of value.
What about the children, Master? You know, some of us are the children.
You may use whom you wish of the children. The rest shall be sold as slaves to buy more swords and horses.
God! What if we are killed in the battle?
Mohammed is Allah's messenger, and the Quran is our constitution.
Do you see how stupid this movie is? You can even hear from the sound, somebody is waving a piece of fabric on top of the mic. You hear like wind. What about the children? Some of us like children. And then three guys, yeah, yeah, on a green screen. Will you pay $1 to watch this movie in a theater? If they give me money, I'll not go watch it. And they spend $5 million on this movie? Lord have mercy. Not even $50. The people who shot this video should be in jail just for the poor quality videos they're making. Anyway, so what we see here, he's telling them, kill the male. Leave the women and the children. They're going to marry these little children. And that's what they learned from their apostle Muhammad himself, as we're going to see in a minute. There's nothing unusual here. That's what is written in their books. As we read one story after one story about one invasion after one invasion. As a matter of fact, that is what is written in the Quran. Quran chapter 33, verses 26 and 27. Here's what Allah said concerning Bani Qurayza. Who is Bani Qurayza? Jewish tribe, whom Muhammad killed between 700 to 800 male, and they kept the females and the children. That is their own writing, the Quran and its interpretation by Muslim scholars. So far, I did not see anything wrong in the movie. Let's read what the Quran said. And he brought down the people of the book who backed them from their strong places and cast the terror into the hearts. A group of them you are killing, that's a male. Read the interpretation of any Muslim scholar you like. And a group of them you are taking captive. That's women and children. And he made you to inherit their land, their homes, and their money. And a land which ye had never set foot on. And Allah was mighty over all things. These two verses, Quran chapter 33, verses 26 and 27, is talking about the invasion of Bani Qurayza. That is their book. And its interpretation is very clear by all the Muslim scholars. They were killing the male and keeping the children and the female. As a matter of fact, according to the interpretation concerning this war, Muhammad's word himself, he said that Gabriel met with him, angel Gabriel, and he said, did you put the sword down, O apostle of Allah? أَوَضَعْتَ السِّلَاحِ يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ? Did you stop fighting? Muhammad said yes. He said, the angel Jibril said, but the angels did not put their sword yet. Why you stop fighting? And that's when Muhammad learned that Allah asked him to go to invade the people of Bani Qurayza, the children of Qurayza, the Jewish people. And Muhammad told the people, the prayer of the afternoon, we're going to pray it at Bani Qurayza city or village. So they start walking to Bani Qurayza. Well, it's running late. Can you imagine? Guys, you need to understand this, because we got enough liberal idiot in this country. They have no idea. They cannot connect Islam with killing. Muhammad told his followers, we're going to pray the noon prayer at the city where we're going to be killing the people. The people who are praying to Allah are the same people who carry the sword to kill the Jews of Bani Qurayza. And look at the exact words of the interpretation of Muslim scholar, that Muhammad commanded the people to walk to the Bani Qurayza, so the prayer came near to them, فَأَدْرَكَتْهُمُ الصَّلَاةُ. Some of them pray, and some said, no, we're not going to pray here. We're going to pray there, at the homeland of our enemy. We're going to kill them there, not here, but there. That's exactly, because Muhammad commanded us to pray there, where we're going to be killing them there. Do you know that every attack, almost every attack, took place in Egypt? In the years I know it, I'm a 43 years old man now. Every attack took place always on Friday after Friday prayer. You didn't hear me? Hello, liberal who love Muhammad and his people. The Muslim who go to the mosque on Friday and pray are the same one who come out of the mosque and burn our churches, destroy our businesses, and kill our people in Egypt for the last 1400 years. That is how Muslims do it. And you're helping them right now to build mosques in America. And the day will come, and they will come out of the same mosque where you gladly to allow them to build, and they will destroy your country here in America. Learn it from Egypt, or at least from Europe, for heaven's sake. So, Muhammad arrived to them, and he follows them, and they all went there to Bani Qurayza. Now we know from the rest of the story that Muhammad and his people surround the city 25 days, 25 nights. وَحَاصَرَهُمْ 25 لَيْلَةً. They run out of food. They run out of water. They're about to die just being surrounded. Nobody can get out of the city or the village. Nobody can get in. Then they sought to seek somebody to help, somebody to intercede by their behalf. So they got a guy by the name Sa'd ibn Mu'az. They thought that Sa'd ibn Mu'az will make peace between them and Muhammad. So Sa'd ibn Mu'az went inside the tent of Muhammad, and Muhammad said, okay, Sa'd, you judge in these people. Whatever you judge, we're going to take. Whatever you say, we will take. Sa'd said, okay, إني أحكم أن تقتل مقاتليهم وتسبي ذريتهم وأموالهم. I judge that you will fight those who can fight among them. In the clear interpretation to the verses of the Quran, chapter 33, verse 26, 27, anybody who have a mustache, 14 years old, 15 years old, you know, kids can grow up mustache in this age. Anyone who have mustache and older among the male must be put to death. As for the children and the women were kept alive. Muhammad first said, لَقَدْ حَكَمْتَ بِحُكْمِ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى مِنْ فَوْقِ سَبْعَةِ أَرْقَعَ. He said, oh, Sa'd ibn Mu'az, you have judged with the judgment of Allah. That means that was the will of Allah, and Muhammad already knew it from the 7 heavens. And then he said what? And he said, وَجِيَ بِهَا مُكْتِفِينَ فَضَرَبَ أَعْنَاقَهُمْ وَكَانُوا مَا بَيْنَ 700 إِلَى 800 وَسُبِيَ مَنْ لَمْ يَنْبُتْ مِنْهُمْ مَعًا. And they tied them together. As a matter of fact, the interpretation, they said, they tied them 5 or 6 men together from their feet with chains. They gave them shovels. They dig their own grave. They behead between 700 to 800 men. 750, some say 770, 780, between 700 and 800 men. And then they brought the children and the women through the courses of the bodies, the dead body, and they let the children and women see their fathers and their older brother all dead, beheaded. And then they buried them. What a loving, peaceful prophet, Prophet Muhammad. What a loving, peaceful religion of Islam. That is the nature of the invasion of Muhammad. He killed male, he kept female and children. Why? Because they were selling them to buy more goods, to buy more swords, or to sleep with them. It's a reward. Muhammad told his followers, join me, we'll fight the Romans. And you'll have the beautiful blonde, beautiful white-skinned ladies, the European women. And that's why after Muhammad died, they went and they invaded all the way the Christian land, North Africa, Egypt, Syria, Turkey, and they were about to cross Europe, and they crossed from Morocco to Spain. And if it was not for your ancestors, the European, who went in war with these barbaric Muslims, Europe would be a Muslim country in the 7th century. What they did in Egypt, what they did in Syria, what they did in Turkey, what they did in all over North Africa, what they did in Spain. They can continue to do that and take over the whole entire known world in Muhammad days. Let's continue with the movie Mohammed, and we see in this slide Muhammad, the womanizer.
My husband just left with the caravan.
Yes. Go and wait for me in your tent. I'm coming.
Isn't it shameful for a woman to expose herself to a man she does not know?
Have you not heard what God has said in the Quran? The master may desire whom he wants, and shall be given whom he wants.
God is true in all that he says in the book.
Also, if a married woman offers herself to the master, and he wishes to have her, he is allowed, even if the rest of the believers are not allowed.
Everything Allah says in the Quran is true. How pleasurable is our Islamic ways.
What we see in this movie make Muslim upset. Why? Here is a woman, offer herself to the apostle of Allah. My husband went with a caravan. I am free. Okay, go to the tent. I'll see you in a little bit. How dare you insult the Prophet of Islam and make him a womanizer sleeping with a woman whom her husband went to business? Maybe we need to read the Quran. Seriously, not even the hadith, the Quran itself, to find out, is that true? If Muslim investigate this allegation and they found it to be true, maybe it's time for them to get rid of this wicked cult, the cult of Islam, because their prophet was nothing but a womanizer. Let me show you what we're talking about here. If you go to Quran chapter 33 and verse 50 to 52. First, we're going to read verse 50. We're going to get to the rest later. I'm not going to even bother to read the first part because here Allah gave Muhammad permission to literally sleep with every female in his family, his cousins from the father's side and the mother's side, and every woman immigrate from Mecca to Medina and all these wonderful things. Now, listen carefully. And a believing woman, if she gives herself to the prophet, if the prophet desired to have sex with her, this is a privilege for you, but not for any other believers. What we're talking about here? You see, in the other English translation made by the good Muslim who fixed the book of Allah in English for you, they change the word to have sex with, they make it marriage. If the prophet desired to marry, no. This is the word of Allah given to Muhammad to give him permission to have sex with any woman, marry or not. Her husband went to business, or if she walked with her husband and Muhammad looked at her and said, I like you. That's it. Her husband have to give her up for Muhammad to have good time with her. And that's not marriage. And I'm going to prove it to you in a minute here. That have nothing to do with marriage. This is a privilege for you, but not for any other believers. If it's marriage, any Muslim man believer has the right to marry any Muslim female believer. No, that's a privilege for Muhammad alone. I have studied Sharia, Islamic law. Imagine divorce in Alexandria, Egypt. And I know what it is to be married. And I understand the rules of marriage. Here, a Muslim believer gives up herself to Muhammad. Muhammad has the right to have sex with her, not marriage. Why? Because as we see, he said this is a privilege for Muhammad alone. That's not marriage. And listen to the rest of it. Indeed, we know what we ordain for them in their wives and what their right hand possesses. Allah is telling Muhammad, for the believers, we already ordained for them to have 4 wives, and we already allowed them have all what their right hand possess, concubine, slave. But listen carefully here, he said what? That there may be no shame on your part. Why Muhammad would be ashamed to have another wife? He already has 13. He exceeds the limit of 4. And listen a little bit more here. And Allah was forgiven, merciful. Allah was forgiven, merciful. That means something was wrong. There was sin there. Listen, the verse 52 was even make it more clear. And by the way, all those who translated the Quran and fix chapter 33 and verse 50 by changing the word from having sex to marry, they forgot to fix verse 52. All of them. One by one. Sheikh Rashad, Bektallah, Yusuf Ali, all of them made the same mistake. Listen to me, verse 52. It is not lawful for you, the women. After that, what do we have in the women here? In marriage. Muhammad could not have new wife after that. In verse 50, Allah said, you can have sex with any woman offer herself to you. In verse 52, you cannot have new wives. Here's my ijtihad, my trial to figure out what he's talking here. I guarantee you, Muhammad starts sleeping with all these women, and all these women want to marry him. And he said, oh, no. Allah said, I only can have sex with you, but I cannot marry you. 50, I can have sex with you. 52, I cannot marry you. So, that is the teaching of the Quran. Allah gave Muhammad the right to sleep with any believing woman if she offers herself. And then you read in their own books, and you find this to be true. There is a woman, she came to Muhammad, and his family was sitting in the, like as you see in the video, and the reaction of this lady when she said, isn't it shameful that a woman offer herself like that? That is what is written in their books. Here we go. Imam Ahmad. That's not some Jewish guy. That's not some Christian guy. That is their Imam. Imam Ahmad said what? He said that Affan, another gentleman by the name Affan, said that Sabit said that he was sitting with Anas, another man by the name Anas, and his daughter was there. So Anas said, a woman came to the Prophet, Allah's prayer and Allah's peace be on him. So she said, oh Prophet of Allah, هل لك في حاجة? Do you need anything in me? Do you like to have sex with me? Can I give you good time in your tent? That's the word. Listen what he said. فقالت ابنتي. So his daughter said, ما كان أقل حيائها. This woman have no self-respect. This woman have no dignity. Why is that? فقال, listen what Muhammad said, هي خير منك. She is better than you. Muhammad telling this lady, she said, I mean, in easy English, how shameful this woman is. Offer herself to Muhammad to have sex with her in front of all of us. So Muhammad said, she is better than you. Why is that? رغبت في النبي فعرضت عليه نفسها. She desired the Prophet. That's why she offered herself to him. What a wonderful, godly prophet. Have nothing to do with women, isn't it? Yes, Muhammad is a womanizer. How do we know that? We read the Quran. How do we know that? We read the interpretation of Muslim scholar to the verses of the Quran. He have many women who offered themselves, and he actually hunted women, as you're going to see in the rest of the video. And this one comes with the title, Killing in the Old Testament versus the Quran.
Remember, God in the Torah commanded the Jews to destroy the city of Jericho, killing all the people, even the women and the children. Am I right?
Yes, Elohim, our God, did that. But if you noticed, he also gave this city a 450-year chance. And he didn't expect extortions. Or ask anyone to convert to Judaism. For your knowledge, we believe in one God. Before you were born, even the pharaohs of Egypt believed in one God 5,000 years ago.
It's not enough to believe in one God.
Must say God and Muhammad his messenger.
Now,
go read the Quran.
Move to Palestine or pay the extortion.
I received your message, and I will not read your Quran.
Killing in the Old Testament is true. As a matter of fact, I'll give you a quick 3 minutes here about the killing in the Old Testament. When we read the Bible, we see that God has set the rules before even Adam sinned. He said, Adam, if you sin, you will die. So if Adam sinned and God killed him, that is a very justifiable thing because he breaks the law. The law said, if you drive a car and you're going 60 miles an hour over 50, I'm going to give you a ticket of $100. You decided to go over the speed, you get the ticket, you have to pay it. So it's not like God surprised Adam and he want to punish him for a crime he did not know about. He knows. When the whole world sinned and it was so wicked, God punished the entire earth with the flood. And we know in Noah's story, all the people of the earth died. Everybody except Noah, his 3 sons, his 3 daughters-in-law, and his wife. 8 people have been saved through from the flood. But the rest of the world died. And then God used the fire in Sodom and Gomorrah. And then God told Moses and Joshua to kill the wicked people of the land. Notice what I said? I said the wicked people of the land. And God, as we saw in the movie, was patient with these people. 450 years or so. God told Abraham in Genesis 18 that Abraham descended will take all this promised land. And Abraham was excited about it. But then God said, not now. Years to come, in the future, you children will come after they go to slavery for 400 years. They will come and they take over this land. Why is that, God? He said, because the sin of the Amorite have not yet been fulfilled. So killing in the Old Testament, it was a punishment for sin. Not because God won't force people to become Jew, because there was not even any Jewish face when God told Adam not to eat from the tree, and Adam ate and he must be put to death. This is clear? Now, the God of the Bible, he does not have 2 different faces. When the Jewish people sin against God, he punished them themselves. Sometimes by plagues. Sometimes he punished them by the angel of the Lord, by the sword, where thousands of the Jews were killed. Sometimes by their own enemy. Sometimes he actually caused them to fight each other, to kill each other for their sin. This is the reality of the Old Testament. Sin, the punishment of sin is this. Now, the God of the New Testament have not changed. It's the same. The God of the Old Testament is the same as the God of the New Testament. And the God of the New Testament, he still punished sin. And the punishment of sin is still death. But in the New Testament, he did not punish us, because in the New Testament, the love of God met with the justice of God on the cross when Jesus went on that cross and he died for the sin of the world. God punished sin and punished sin by death, but this time he punished sin by death through his Son. Jesus died for our sins. Nothing has changed. Now we move to from the New Testament, from the days of Jesus, 600 years later after Muhammad. What do we see? Muhammad is killing who? The wicked people. No. The sinful people. No. He's killing the Christian. Why? Because they believe that Jesus is Son of God. Because they believe that he is God Almighty who came in flesh. Because they are born again Christian who believe the Bible to be the true word of God. Anybody and everybody who believes in the Christian faith must be killed by Muhammad and his followers. The crime is being a Christian. And that's a huge difference between killing in the Old Testament and killing in the New Testament under Muhammad and Islam faith. We Christians do not believe in killing because Jesus died on the cross for our sin and it's over. Now there is a reconciliation between man and God through his Son, Jesus Christ. Muhammad came to kill those who believe in Jesus Christ. And that's not acceptable. And that's not the will of God. So here Muhammad, you see a very important thing in the end of the last piece, that he said, well, believing in one God is not enough. Because think about it, in reality, why Muslim hates the Jews? I mean, Jewish do not believe in three God, as they may assuming that we believe in three God. We don't believe in three God. We believe in Jesus Christ, the Holy Spirit, and God the Father, three persons in one God. Why Muslim hates the Jew? The Jew believe in one God. They don't believe in Trinity. The Jew do not eat pork. Why Muslim hates the Jew? Muhammad said it in the end of this piece, where he said what? That's not enough. To believe in one God is not enough. You have to believe in Muhammad. This is the flag which Muslims raise up in our embassy in Cairo. La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. They took the American flag down and they raised up the Muslim flag. There is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. And if you don't believe in Muhammad, you will be killed, even if you believe in one God. Here is the word of Muhammad. Muhammad said, and by the way, you will never see this on Fox News or CNN, as every truth about Islam. It's been 11 years since September 11. And until today, not one media in this country, United States of America, or in the West, have the guts or the boldness to put the teaching of the Quran and the teaching of Muhammad on their TV station or in the newspaper or somebody to tell the truth to the West. Here's what Muhammad said. I have been commanded to engage in war with people till they testify to the fact that there is no God but Allah and believe in me. I am the messenger and in all that I have brought. Muhammad was commanded by Allah to kill anyone and everyone, Christian or Jew, atheist or agnostic, gay or lesbian. I don't care what you believe. If you are not a Muslim, if you don't believe in Allah to be the God of your life, and if you believe in Muhammad to be the prophet of your life, therefore Muhammad and his followers have the right to kill you. That is Sahih Muslim, 100% true hadith. And I dare a Muslim to tell me that's not true. Here is the teaching of the Quran. Chapter 8, verse 39. And engage in war with them. Who is them? Anyone who does not believe in Muhammad. Anyone who does not believe in Allah. Engage in war with them until there will not be sedition. And the religion, Islam, will be completely to Allah. How long do you think we're going to be in war? We're going to be in war for a long, long time until the last American become a Muslim or the last American get killed who is not a Muslim. The idea is that we left Iraq and we no longer have war in Iraq, and we're leaving Afghanistan the next few weeks or few months, and the war in Afghanistan is over, is nothing but a joke. The war is just begun. Wait until Iran has their nuclear and all the weapons we send to our enemy. You know, I was talking to Brother Jeff Cummins this way, and I said, American people are really, the liberal in this country, are really stupid. They have not learned from Taliban. Do you know that every soldiers of ours who were killed in Afghanistan by the Taliban were killed by our own guns, which we gave to Taliban a few years ago? Do you know that the attack we have on Libya, in Benghazi in Libya, and the killing of our ambassador and the 3 other men, they were killed by our own weapon we just gave to them last year? Do you know that even if Romney win, which I don't think he's going to win, even if Romney win, he will help the rebels in Syria as Obama helps the rebel in Tunisia and Egypt and Libya. And who are the rebels? They're the one who are going to kill your soldiers in the years to come. Just count on it. I said that years ago when we started helping the Libyan. And I said, Libyan rebels are nothing but jihadists. Egyptian rebels are nothing but the Brotherhood jihadists. Syrian rebels, they're all the same. They're Muslim. If the word Muslim in front of it, if it is X plus men equal Muslim terrorist, equal terrorist as it is. They believe in the Quran. They believe in that. That is their belief, the teaching of the Quran. What do you expect? If Allah tells them to kill you and Muhammad tells them to kill you, why you don't think they're going to kill you? Maybe you think if you give them more weapon, maybe this will make them like you. Yeah, they will thank you so much for every bullet and every bomb and every airplane. Do you know that Obama is about to send to Egypt, to the Brotherhood of Egypt, 4 war stealth ships? I mean, literally, these cost our tax money $2 billion. He's going to send them to Egypt as a gift. Go online and see it. We're sending tanks. We still make in America F-16, F-18, but not for us. We make them to our enemy. And we send them this stuff for free. One of the commercials which I see on TV, which make me sick in my stomach, $19. They're asking you to give a donation, $19, to help a wounded soldier. And they show you videos or picture of soldiers, no feet, no arm. Shame on you, people. Shame on your country. When we send billions of dollars to our enemy and collect a donation, $19 to our soldiers. What is wrong with you? Are you that stupid? Why can't you take care of your soldiers who literally, many of them lost their life? Almost, 6,000 soldiers died just the last few years. Why can't we take care of their children and their grandchildren, for heaven's sake? No, we collect $19. And by the way, we're going to send you a shirt and a bag so you can wear it and brag about giving $19 to a soldier. We should stop sending one dime to any Muslim country and take care of our own people here. But once again, that is Islam. That is the Quran. And if you go to the Quran, you will see not one verse engage in war, but 79 verse. The same statement, engage in war 79 times. Perform jihad 31 times. and kill plenty of other time and fight. Literally over 350 verses in the Quran teach the same message. And what did Hillary say to us last week? Violence have nothing to do with religion. You take violence out of Islam, there is no religion exists in Islam.
Religion of peace.
Absolutely. Islam is a religion of peace. Yeah. See, when we say peace in our language, we do not speak very good English. We meant pieces. We cut you to pieces. But we spell it, we pronounce it wrong, brother. You know, Allah in the Quran said, cut their hand, cut their feet from opposite side, chop off their necks. Quran chapter 47:4. Beheaded them. So that's what we mean, pieces. But we pronounce it wrong a little bit. Yeah. One more piece of the video, Mohammed. And this one is by the title, Mohammed, the pedophile.
My daughter shall have the stars.
Is your Mohammed a child molester? Our daughter's been a child, and he's 55 years old.
He's 53, not 55. And he has wealth and power. My daughter shall be his bride, whether he say yes or no.
Who are these people? A man and a woman. These are Abu Bakr as-Siddiq and his wife. And they're talking about what? They're talking about their own daughter, Aisha. These two numbers are wrong. Muhammad was not 55, Muhammad was not 53, but actually he was 51, to be accurate. And Aisha was 6 years old. Or not really 6, because if you count it in our time here, it will be 5.5 years. Every 11 months of our calendar, it make a year in the Muslim calendar. Can you imagine with me, 51 years old man with a 6 years old child? What do you call this? Marriage made in heaven? Or maybe he was a pedophile. Maybe he was a child molester. Maybe he was a sex offender. And that's not just a movie. Somebody make it up, some Christian Jew. No, that is actually their own book. Aisha herself, the bride, the wife of Muhammad, which is the favorite wife of Muhammad, said, تزوجني النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, the prophet married me, may the prayer of Allah and peace of Allah be on him, وأنا بنت ستة سنين, when I was a child of 6 years, وبنى بي, and he have sex with me, وأنا بنت تسع سنين, when I was 9 years. Oh, brother Usama, he did not tell us this early. He did not have sex with her when she was 6. He had sex with her when she was 9. Now, Muslim can use this to say, hey, not 6, but 9. And by the way, Sahih Muslim. What is Sahih Muslim? Correct hadith by Muslim. Nobody can argue that, say, well, that's not true, that's not what is really there. It is there. That's their own books. But you see, ladies and gentlemen, in Saudi Arabia, with the temperatures there is hot. In the days of Muhammad, girls used to get mature quickly. So 9 years old is like 14 or 15 today. Because the heat, you know, it's too hot there, 110 degrees. That means girls in Europe, they used to mature a little bit later because too cold their eyes, maybe in their 30 or 40. Think with me. Well, but you understand, she was fat, she was heavy. No, she was skinny. And we have from the hadith, she was literally slept in the saddle of the camel, and they were searching for her, they couldn't find her because she was so small. Skinny little girl. Muhammad's favorite wife. Well, maybe that was for just one case for Muhammad. Or Muslim will give you so many excuses. You see, Muhammad did not marry her for sex. He married her because she's smart and she was young and she memorized the Quran. Really. وَبَنَى بِي, and he had sex with me when I was 9. He did have sex with her when she was 9. Well, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. Well, you know what? Let me give you another verse in the Quran. It make even the matter worse. If you go to the Quran chapter 65 verse 4, you will see here that a Muslim man can marry a child at any age and can have sex with this child at any age, before 6 or before 9. Let's read together. And of those of your women who despair of the menstruation, if you doubt that they may be pregnant, their prescribed waiting time is 3 months. What do we have here? A man marry a wife and say she is 47, 48, and then he divorced her. Well, maybe she is pregnant, maybe she is not pregnant. You worry in your head. So the best thing, Allah said, you hold her into your house for 3 more months. Even though she is not longer your wife, you divorce her. If she is pregnant, it's going to show up in her belly, then you can keep the baby and life goes on. In Islam, when a man divorces a wife, the baby belongs to Papa. Mama get nothing. He maybe make a deal with her, according to the Quran, where she can breastfeed the baby with salary. He'll give her a wage. Her own baby. If she disagrees with him on the price, he will take the baby out of his mama and find another woman to breastfeed the baby for him. Don't you love Islam and Sharia? Coming to a city near you here. Now, so that is concerning the old women. 47, 48, whatever. Now, as well as for those who have not yet begun menstruation. If you have a little child wife, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, whatever years old, and you divorced her, in case you're doubting she is pregnant, you hold on to your wife, the little baby, because she maybe have a baby, for 3 more months. I don't believe a child laying down next to her husband will get pregnant. They must have sex so she can get pregnant, so she can have a baby. That is the teaching of Allah in the Quran. Not only Muhammad, any Muslim man, according to Quran chapter 65 verse 4, can marry a little child and can have sex with a little child. There is marriage among the Shia. It's called Zawaj al-Radiyya. The marriage of the breastfeeding child. Literally, a man can have a wife between a day old to 2 years old. And he literally can touch her with his private part and enjoy her. Use your imagination. The beauty of Islam. Well, Sunni will say, that's only Shia. We Sunni don't do that. Yeah, there's few millions Muslim practice that. Let's move on. Another piece of the movie, Mohammed. This one is by the title, Mohammed and Homosexuality.
Is the messenger of God gay?
Yes, he is. And Omar also.
I know about Omar. But is the master dominant or submissive?
Oh. Do you remember the night of the jinn?
Of course, master.
Change the topic here. Muhammad is going to move to something else. Was Muhammad a gay? I know Muslim kill gay. How do we know this piece of the movie is true or not? We read the Muslim books. See, everything is there in the book. We don't have to worry about it. Here we go. And I know this is a little bit ridiculous here, but I'm sorry. That is their books. If they remove it out of these books, I'll be very happy. I will not mention it again. But as long as it's in their books, I have to keep repeating it. They print this. I just copied this from their books 3 days ago online. Muslim sites. What do we have here? استأذن أبي على النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. My father, this man is telling us, my father asked permission from the Prophet Muhammad, Allah's prayer, Allah's peace be on him. فدخل بينه وبين قميصه من خلفه. So he go inside him, he go between him and his shirt from behind him. You know the jalabiya, the big dress we wear like your night sleep, you can sleep in. He go between him in the back, touching him from his back. Then he asked him, oh, Prophet of Allah. They're touching each other now. Oh, Prophet of Allah, what is the thing which is not lawful to forbid? Oh, the water, he said. Oh, Prophet of Allah. And they were talking with each other, having a conversation, touching him from his back, inside his shirt. What they were doing, just touching each other, warming each other, it was cold night? That's an act of homosexuality. I'm sorry. They need to remove this trash out of their sites, out of their books. Then we don't talk about it. Here, he tells us the name of the guy. Zahran ibn Haram. Muhammad used to know this guy. He used to love this. وَيَحِبَّهُ. He used to love him. That's the same guy. They touch each other, having good time. Another piece of the movie, and this one we see, is it love or is it lust?
See it. I do not know him. You are mine. You are only for me. For you, I'm canceling the adoption. Islamic nation forbids adoption because I'm saying that.
That is the next verse of the Quran.
Who is this? That's his own daughter-in-law. Her name, Zainab bint Jahsh. The story is in the pages of the Quran. We're not even making it up. And the story is very simple. Muhammad went to visit his son by adoption by the name Zayd. And Zayd was not at home, and they don't have doors like we do have in front of our homes. They have this like a curtain out of hair. And the wind lifted up the curtain, and Muhammad, as going there, he saw her nudity, some part of her body. We do not know what exactly he saw of her. And then Muhammad said, Subhanallah muqallib al-qulub. How great is Allah who changed my heart towards thee. In simple word, I no longer love you as a man love a daughter-in-law, but I love you as a man love a woman. I'm lusting after you. So Muhammad left, her husband came, his name is Zayd, and Muhammad, he asked, what's happening? He said, oh, Muhammad came to visit and you were not home, and blah, blah, blah happened, and then Muhammad said blah, 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 and then quickly Zayd went to his daddy, Muhammad, and he said, I want to divorce my wife. Why did you think Zayd did that? Because he knew if he will not marry her as a divorced woman, he will marry her as a widow. And because the guy wanted to keep living, he decided to give up his wife for Muhammad. And the story is here in the Quran. And when you said, to whom is here is Zayd, that's Muhammad's son adoption, Allah has graced on, and you graced on, keep your wife to yourselves and fear Allah. And you did hide in yourself what Allah would reveal, and you feared the people, and Allah is more worthy to be feared. So when Zayd had satisfied his desire from her, we married her to you, so that it would not be a shame on the believers to marry the wives of their sons when they have settled the affair concerning them. Listen, verse 38. There was no shame on the prophet where Allah has ordained for him the custom of Allah with those who have gone before, and the command of Allah was a predetermined decree. Allah have decreed for Muhammad to have his daughter-in-law Zainab bint Jahsh as a wife. And there's no shame on Muhammad to marry. As a matter of fact, any Muslim man in Islam can marry the wife of their adopted sons. Because Muhammad canceled adoption. Why Muhammad canceled adoption? Because he fell in lust with his daughter-in-law Zainab bint Jahsh. Why? Because he saw some of her nudity. And that is their books, the Quran, the interpretation of the Quran by Muslim scholars. You may call it love, but the reality is it is nothing but lust. Here is a verse in the Quran where Muhammad promised her, as we saw in the video, he promised his daughter-in-law that Allah will send a verse to cancel adoption. Muhammad was not the father of any man among you, but is this messenger of Allah, and the khatim, which is the seal of the prophet. And Allah was the knower of all things. Muhammad is not the father of Zayd. As a matter of fact, in this verse, Quran chapter 33, verses 4 and 5, Muhammad assured Muslims that no such a thing as adoption. Allah did not make to man two hearts inside his body, and he did not make your wives, which you turn your back from them, your mothers, and He did not make your adopted sons your sons. This is your saying with your mouth. And Allah says the truth. He guides the way. Call them to their own fathers. No such a thing as to adopt a son. In Islam, adoption is cancelled, is completely gone. Why all this change in the Quran? Why all this change in the teaching of Allah? Because Muhammad fell in lust with his daughter-in-law. What a shameful thing. Here one more piece of the movie, Muhammad. The tolerance of Islam.
My age has exceeded 120 years. And in all my young life, I have not seen such a murderous thug as Mohammed. He kills men, captures women and children, robs the caravans, breaches agreements and treaties. He sells the children as slaves after he and his men have used them. And what's more, he does this all in the name of God. What God is this that is such an oppressor and so unfair to the people?
Who are we talking about here? A lady by the name Qurfa. 120 years old woman. And all what she did, actually, she wrote a poetry. And in it, she exposed Muhammad for who he is. How did he kill her? Exactly as you've seen in the video. Tie her legs to two camels, force the camel to go to two different directions, and rip her to two halves. Who did that? Muhammad's son in adoption, Zayd. By the command of who? By the command of Muhammad, his papa. This is the history of Islam. There is no tolerance in Islam. What you hear in America is a joke, it's a lie. It's a temporary lie until they have the upper hand and you can kiss this tolerance goodbye. Here is the proof, here is the evidence.
Qurfa was an old Arab woman contemporaneous to Muhammad, the prophet of Islam. She belonged to a pagan tribe named Bani Fazara at Wadi Akara. This old woman was also a chief of her clan. She was brutally killed when Muhammad and his followers raided her tribe and overpowered them. The incident took place almost 6 years after Muhammad's hijrah to Medina in 622 AD.
How about more tolerance of Islam?
Whomever refuses to follow Islam have only two choices: pay extortion or die.
That's it. It's very simple. You have two choices. You're going to pay the jizya or die. But guess what? That's not even the final truth. Because even the money option is taken off the table after Muhammad became more rich. He does not need your money. He just wants you to become Muslim or get you killed. How do we know that? Here we go. The verse we were talking about here is Quran chapter 9 verse 29. When Allah said, engage in war with those who do not believe in Allah, nor in the last day, nor forbid what Allah and His Messenger forbid, nor believe in the religion of the truth, which is the religion of Islam, among those who have been given the book, until they pay the jizya out of hand and they are subdued. That is the verse which gives us the option to give them jizya. But look at the final word of Allah, Quran chapter 9 verse 5. And here we read, so when the forbidden months are passed, number 1, kill the Palestinians wherever you find them. Number 2, take them as captive and besiege them and lay wait for them with every kind of ambush. Number 3, so if they repent, that is to convert to Islam, and perform the prayer and bring the legal alms, so leave their way free. Surely Allah is forgiving, merciful. The final word of Allah, Quran chapter 9 verse 5, the verse of the sword, is very well known by all Muslims. Give us 3 options. Number 1, to be killed. Number 2, to be slave. Number 3 is to be Muslim. Now, which one of the 3 options you like for your children or grandchildren in this country? killed, slave, or Muslims. Now, the marriage of Muhammad to Safiya is described in this movie.
Let us take the other treasure. Cut off his arms and his legs, and then his head. And do it in front of his beautiful wife, Sophia.
As you command, Master.
I'd like to hear. What are the last words you would like to say to your wife?
Sophia, my bride, this is my will. God remembers the Jews and brings them together in the Holy Land. I hope that He won't forget our bones. And I wish Muhammad's sons are given a restitution for grandfather's blood, for the rape of our women, for our children, and our riches.
Nana, Nana.
I'm leaving, Sophia, I'm leaving.
No, Krishna.
The story of Safiya is very well known. It's written in many, many Muslim books. Muslims know it. They have no right to get upset about it because actually it is part of their history, part of their tradition of Muhammad's wife. Safiya bint Hayy, she was from the tribe of Khaybar. And as you read the story, the Muslim went there, have a war, and they win the war and win the battle, kill all the men there, and they have lots of women and lots of children, the spoil of the war. And a man by the name Dihya, he went to Muhammad, the apostle of Allah, and said, give me a slave of the spoil. So Muhammad said, go and take whatever women you want. So he took Safiya as a slave. Now, men came to Muhammad, and he said, oh, Prophet of Allah, you give Dihya, Safiya, it will not be lawful to anyone but to you. So Muhammad said, call him, buy her to me. So they brought Safiya and Dihya. And Muhammad asked him to let her go free. So Muhammad set her free and he married her himself. Now, Safiya is it's really a shameful story. Why? Because Muhammad, in the night before he had sexual relationship with Safiya, he killed her husband, he killed her daddy, he killed her brother. And she was a new wedded woman. He killed 3 people, her father, her husband, and her brother, and he had sex with her in the same night. Actually, as you see that when Muhammad announced that she's going to marry her, they make a feast for Muhammad. Everybody brought something because they didn't have time to cook a meal. So one person got, some dates, person gets some oil, somebody gets some meat, some chicken, whatever, and they make a big feast. And a lady by the name of Salim, she actually prepared her for Muhammad in their way as they're going to Muhammad. You mean, clean her face, wash her, put some makeup or something on her. Listen to this next source here, where we found out there's a man by the name Abu Ayyub, the father of Ayyub. He was literally guarding Muhammad in his night with Safiya as they were having good time in the tent. He was standing all night outside the tent. He never slept the whole night. And when Muhammad found out about it in the morning, he asked him, why did you do that? Why you were watching all night outside? He said, well, this is a woman whom you killed, her father, her husband, and her brother. And I was afraid that she may harm you. That's why I was watching you all night. And Muhammad praised him for doing so. Thank you so much for protecting me, for watching over me last night as I enjoyed Safiya. This comes out of their books. Muslims should be ashamed of themselves to get mad about us telling the truth about who Muhammad was in this very ridiculous movie. Here's more sources. You can go online, read about Safiya. Here's another source to read about. From Ibn Isaac, great Muslim scholar. All of them believe in him. We're not making this stuff up. It comes directly from their books. Now, Muhammad the adulterer.
Hafsa, please, do not yell. Aisha can hear you.
Are you afraid from Hillary? If she doesn't hear me tonight, I'll make sure she knows of the scandal with my servants.
Please, Hassan, don't tell Aisha. I will make your father Caliph of the Muslims.
I can handle him on my own. He heard her then. In my bed, on my night, in my bed, on my night.
The battle! I'm late for the battle. Leave me to go to the battle.
Oh.
Sound ridiculous, isn't it? But guess what? The movie is bad, but the message of this part is still true. Muhammad committed adultery with a woman. Her name is Mary, and she was Coptic, as you see it in the video. Hafsa, daughter of Umar, whom he made her father Khalifa after Abu Bakr, he was second Khalifa. He wanted to be with her in her night. And her daddy was sick, or whatever the reason is, she went away. She came back in the middle of the night, and she found Muhammad having good time with this slave of hers. She said, in my bed, in my night, under my roof, oh Apostle of Allah, he said, shh, don't tell anybody. And he gave an oath that he will never touch this woman again. He said, don't tell Aisha, his favorite wife, the little one, and I promise you, I will never touch this woman again. But then later, he want to be with this woman again. He like her. That's why he gave us the verses of the Quran which support the story. We're not making this up. Here we go. Let's read the Quran. Quran chapter 66 verse 1. O you prophet, why do you forbid what Allah has made lawful to you, seeking to please your wives, and Allah is forgiving, merciful? What is? He forbid himself. He forbid himself to have sex with Mary, the Coptic woman. He said, I will never touch her again. And Allah correct him. He said, why do you do that? Don't forget, guys, Quran chapter 33 verse 50. We read what? Any woman offer herself to Muhammad, it is lawful for him to have sex with her. Why do you forbid what Allah has made lawful to you? To please your wives? That is the true story behind this verse. I know some Muslim, and by the way, this is written by Muslim scholar interpretation. You can read Al-Tabari, you can read Al-Qurtubi. They all tell you that is when Muhammad have sex with Mary, the Coptic woman, and his wife, Hafsa, daughter of Umar. But some Muslim come up with another interpretation, that Muhammad used to go to one of his wives, and in her house, which is Hafsa, he used to eat honey. And when he eat honey, it caused him to have gas in his stomach. Therefore, when he go to the other wife, whatever name was, he passed gas all night. And that bothered her so much. So because she get upset over the smell or the sound, he said, I swear to Allah, I will never eat honey again. Do you really believe that Allah is so much concerned about Muhammad eating honey and farting all night long? And so he gave him a whole chapter in the Quran by the name Al-Tahrim, the forbidden, chapter 66. Isn't this amazing? Obviously, the true interpretation is Muhammad was an adulterer. He committed adultery with this woman, Mary, the Coptic woman. This is the last piece for our movie, which is the end of the 14-minute, Muhammad's plan.
Every non-Muslim is an infidel. Their lands, their women, their children are our spoils.
We add the statement, is this Americans' future? Yes, indeed. You are infidel. And Muhammad, people have the right to take your women and your children. They have the right to kill every man in this country. If you don't believe in Islam, if you believe in Muhammad, that's not my word. Don't forget, Muhammad said what? He was commanded by Allah to kill, to fight, to engage in war with every man, with people. Are you people? Until you say the Shahada. There is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. That is their plan for America. That is their plan for the whole world. You are infidel. If you don't believe me, read the Quran. Quran chapter 5, verse 72. Infidel indeed are those who said, surely Allah is Christ, the son of Mary. If you believe Jesus, son of Virgin Mary, is God, you are an infidel. Quran chapter 5 verse 73. Infidel indeed are those who said Allah is the third of three. If you believe in Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, you are infidel. Quran chapter 47 verse 4. When you meet those who became infidel, so strike the necks, decapitate them until you have made great slaughter among them. Muslims are commanded to kill all Christian of America. That is Allah's word in the Quran. Muslims see this movie to be insult Muhammad, as we have seen so far in this 14-minute, this ridiculous movie, very poor quality movie. We see all this, what is said in it is true, not by some Christian writings or not by some Jewish writing, but by the word of Allah in the Quran and the command of Muhammad in the Hadith and the interpretation of great Muslim scholars to such details. My dear Muslims, before you get upset with us about what we tell you about Islam, why don't you investigate what we're telling you? Perhaps what we're telling you is true. And if it is true and you're so upset about it, why don't you leave Islam? Maybe it's time for you to read the Bible, to know some truths about the Christian faith. Muhammad lied to you. And he told you Jesus is not the Son of God. Jesus is not God who came in flesh. Jesus never died on the cross for your sin. And that is exactly the plan of Satan for your life. For if you don't believe in Jesus' death and resurrection, you have to pay for your own sin. You will spend eternity in hell with your Muhammad. The truth is, you have insulted the Christian for the last 1440 years, and we have never insulted Muhammad. We have never insulted any Muslim. We are only telling you the truth about your cult, which you believe in it without knowing it. But when you tell me that Jesus is not God, that Jesus is not the Son of God who came in flesh, that Jesus did not die on the cross and rose from the dead, you are insulting every Christian and you're insulting the God of Christianity. It is greater insult to tell me that Jesus is not God than me to tell you that Muhammad, your Muhammad, is not a prophet. And all what we have shared with you in this 14-minute or in the last few minutes we spent together is nothing but information in your book. Will you investigate the information in this movie before you judge the movie or before you judge those who made this movie? I understand there's some scenes here I'm not agree with, and as I share with you, large portion of the information in this movie is 100% true. Thank you so much for being here tonight, and God bless you. Talk to you later.